As a longtime fan of the Super Monkey Ball games, I've waited a long time for a game in the series to even come close to matching what I loved about those first two games. Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2 on the GameCube. I played just about every game in the series, barring the one on the Vita, but none have gotten quite to that level. None have gotten to the point where I would consider them the true Super Monkey Ball 3. Heck, some I even struggle to consider real Monkey Ball games. You're a copper. No! However, with the newest game in the series, Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble, something shifted. From the initial reveal, I could tell this one was different. New colorful designs, stunning creative new worlds, an actual attempt to make a story like in Super Monkey Ball 2. And to top it all off, a new mechanic that looked to evolve the series, rather than take away from it. The multiplayer looked a little questionable, but I was never here for that, so that's fine by me. And lo and behold, once the game released, I was more than pleased by it. I've been wanting to talk about this one for a while, but I've just been struggling to find the words really. But I think I've found them now. From its presentation to the core gameplay, Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble is Super Monkey Ball 3. To me, anyway. But more than that, I think it's the first major step to rightfully returning this series to the classic status it always deserved to have. It's not perfect, but it might be my new favorite. And if you're here on my video, you should know that that's really all that matters here. Right off the bat, Banana Rumble launches the player into the narrative, where I feel it brings a strong first impression. While the story itself is cute, nothing too special, it's very nice to see the Monkey Ball series try its hand at actually choreographed cutscenes for the first time since Super Monkey Ball 2. Oh my god, we were really in the trenches, huh? But the cutscenes are super cute. They show off how expressive the new designs and models are, and give us a whole bunch of new characters as well. The main focus of the story is on Palette, and she's wonderful. I really like her. She's very likable, and her story and character arcs come together very nicely. She makes a great addition to the cast, bouncing off of them wonderfully, and I hope she returns in future entries. While the story's stakes aren't quite as wild as Super Monkey Ball 2's, that's fine by me. The game's very comfortable having this world tour type story, where the bunch travels around to collect mysterious artifacts before the nefarious Gala family can get to them. I'm not really gonna go critiquing the story of a Monkey Ball game, guys. It's Monkey Ball. It's fine if it's simple. Sure, most of the new characters, aside from Palette herself, don't really get to do all that much, but like, the charm more than pays the balance for something like this. And at the end of the day, we're here for the game. But that being said, the visuals surrounding this game? Oh my gosh, what a looker. This is by far the best any Monkey Ball game has ever looked. Which, isn't exactly a stiff competition. This series never really tried to be about its visuals, and furthermore, this is the first HD Monkey Ball game with visuals specifically made for an HD console. I'm so glad we're out of the remake pit, you have no idea. From the beautiful, ornate rose garden to the bombastic, glowing neon arena, there's so much variety in these biomes, and they all stick out as memorable. They're absolutely bustling with life and soul. And not only does the game look good, it looks fun. There's so many little visual touches that really complement the tropical world tour type thing they're going for. The little animated eye catches when you start playing a world, and the whole UI has this vacation aesthetic. The clear screen snaps a photo for a scrapbook, the loading screens are postcards, mission objectives are stamps. That's so cute! And sure, the performance isn't rock solid. Maybe they could have scaled back some of this fidelity and personality in the graphics. But at least in the solo campaign, it was never an issue for me. I never felt my performance was compromised by the game's performance, if that makes any sense. And I guess to wrap up this little section, I'd like to take a moment to talk about the soundtrack. The early Monkey Ball games are pretty well known for their drum and bass inspired soundtracks, and once again, Banana Rumble does not really do that. It does its own thing, tackling a variety of genres for the variety of worlds that you go through. Banana Rumble retains the personality of the series, though I understand people who sorely miss the drum and bass. But most of the tracks here are really good and really memorable. There's a lot of composers here, including some from the Sonic series, like Konichi Tokoi and Tei Fujimoto. With how many artists are on this soundtrack, it can feel a little inconsistent at times, but stuff like Rose Garden, Neon Arena, and Golden Temple are all top tier to me. When this soundtrack hits, it hits. Though I've spent enough time waffling about the narrative and the presentation of this game. Like I said before, Monkey Ball fans are here for the game. So how's the game? Well, as far as I'm concerned, Banana Rumble is fantastic. It's not exact to the original Super Monkey Ball games, but at this point, I've kind of accepted we're never getting a one-to-one creation of those original physics. If you haven't accepted that, run. Leave before he gets you. This might be the last face you see before you die. You gotta get out of here! Either way, these levels are designed with the new physics in mind, so unlike Banana Mania, Banana Rumble doesn't feel as off to me. The way the levels are shaped and the variety that they entail really do help this game feel like an evolution of what came before, rather than reinventing the wheel. You'll see more open stages, stages that require more precision, stages with really funny little gimmicks.
The ball's hard.
And they all work here, and most of them are pretty fun. You know, except Manhole. I just know that level is a speedrunner's worst nightmare. This game even brought back the funny level titles. You called it what? I don't know why, I just always found this so endearing, and I'm glad that it's back. And really, I'm just happy in general that the adrenaline that I feel playing Monkey Ball is retained in this entry. This is in part thanks to the original level designer, Yukio Oda, coming back into the fray. He's been at the series for over 20 years, but this is the first time in a while where he's actually been, like, front and center on the level design. And I feel like Oda's philosophy for designing this game really helps it stand tall alongside Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2. In an interview with Polygon, Oda had this to say: "I think that the originality of the first Super Monkey Ball is the DNA of the series, so I made Banana Rumble keeping all of this in mind, while also trying to adapt it to the changing times and the needs of the players." And as I played through Banana Rumble, I really felt that. There is a lot of that Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2 DNA in there, but there's also a bunch of new stuff in there. The missions from Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania have been retooled. Now there's only a set 3 for each level, for beating a stage in under a set time limit, collecting a certain amount of bananas, and getting a hidden golden banana. These are all really fun and help you experiment with the stages, honing casual players into future speedrunners, and taking those who might go a little fast and telling them to, you know, slow it down a little bit. It's a very cool approach to the mission format. But alongside that, the new gimmick in this game, the Spin Dash, is wonderful, and I feel like it is a perfect addition to the moveset of Super Monkey Ball. Some may think back to the jump from Super Monkey Ball Banana Blades, and worry that this is yet another brainless mechanic that ultimately undermines the level design. But ultimately, I think this is a very different scenario, and a much better thought out mechanic overall. I think it adds a risk-reward feeling to how the game moves. You charge up the button like a slingshot and you let it rip. And you can go zooming across the stages, sometimes to your detriment, but when you get that perfect dash that lets you skip half the level, that's what the true soul of Monkey Ball is all about. I feel like with the Spin Dash, it really not only harnesses the speedrun aspect of Super Monkey Ball, but also the sort of slapstick feel that you get from failure. And this mechanic really opens up a lot of shortcuts, both intended by the devs and probably not. Oda also said in the interview, "I have been involved in the series for many years, and I feel that more than half of the shortcuts found so far were not intended at all by the level designer. We're often surprised to learn of these unexpected shortcuts through various online videos." And I love that the devs more or less recognize that half the fun of the Monkey Ball series is breaking it open. I've seen so many clips from so many different people where they just pop off over finding this amazing skip, and it's beautiful. It brings this sense of community. A sense of community I haven't really felt from the other Monkey Ball games between Super Monkey Ball 2 and this one. I think the adventure mode in this game absolutely soars, providing one of, if not my favorite, Monkey Ball experience to date. But there are a few little detriments that I am a little more mixed on. Namely, the aforementioned multiplayer side modes and the character stats. Yes, the character stats return from Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz to the enjoyment of, I don't know, somebody, but not me. Granted, it does allow for a lot of variety in how you express yourself in the gameplay, and unlike Banana Blitz, it actually feels like you can beat every stage with every character in this game. But the fact of the matter is, there are just 2 or 3 characters that are supremely better than everyone else. Hell, in this case, I'd argue 1. Baby will dominate any leaderboard that you check in this game. Like, you scroll through that leaderboard, it's all Baby, all the way down. You'll see a couple, like, Easels or Sonics or Vals in there, but no, 90% of it's Baby. And it just makes the speedrunning angle of this game a lot less enticing to me because I don't like how Baby controls. His sort of quick movement, stop on a dime type thing, it just doesn't feel good to me personally. So I will never be a professional speedrunner in this game, and that kind of hurts a little, but I guess that's what ILs and mission speedruns are for. I just wish I could see more variety on the in-game leaderboards. And that's not even mentioning the fact that they have these expensive little DLC characters. As far as I can tell, none of them outclass Baby, which is kind of funny. Fastest thing alive can't even compare to a literal infant. But the fact they're so pricey and that some of them do have really good stats just rubs me the wrong way. I would have rathered either have them all equal or let you assign the stat presets to any of the characters, I guess. But enough about that. I also wanted to talk about the multiplayer stuff, and like I said, I'm not really about that, but I can say that it is a bit shoddy. Only 2 of the game modes here really speak to me, that being the race mode and the robot smash mode, because I can just turn my brain off and bonk against the robots over and over again, and it gives me, like, dopamine. But the rest of them are just kind of whatever. And not to mention, the performance in these is kind of inexcusable. Like, it's no secret that Switch Online is kinda but this is where the performance of the game really takes a hit. Though above all else, the main reason I'm not really too jazzed about the multiplayer is the exclusion of one single game. One that's been gone for a long time and hasn't really lived up to the gold standard it had in those original games. I'm of course talking about Monkey Billiards. Like, I just missed that Western music, that funky Ai in the back sipping milk with his cowboy hat. Like, where are my vibes? I missed the— Wait, hold on, I'm getting the call. Monkey Target? I don't give a shit about Monkey Target. Who— Anyway, these flaws aren't really game-breaking to me. They're just small trifles overall. But I would understand if someone thought lesser of the game because of these. As I stated before, this is still probably my favorite Super Monkey Ball game. Honestly, solely for just how quality the solo campaign is. And it leaves me very excited for the future of the series. I've never felt this level of confidence from Ai and the rest of the monkeys. Until now. And that just makes me more happy than words can express. I hope this game is selling well, and I hope this series carries the momentum for years to come. The devs have stated they want this to be the start of a resurgence for the Monkey Ball series, and I couldn't be happier to hear that. No matter what happens, I'll be there every step of the way, just like I have for the last 20 years.